Hey, are you inferring that I'm in the Illuminati?
What in the world is quiet quitting? This is your daily ketchup.
Boom.
Have you guys heard of quiet quitting?
Yes.
Okay, what is it?
It's like doing the bare minimum at work.
Going
Correct.
home
No drama.
on time.
No, when I first heard of this, I thought it's those people that just like, they don't say anything, right? Then they just,
Disappear.
they just stop
Yeah,
replying.
also
right?
Which kind of happened to us
Oh.
once. But anyway, quiet quitting is a situation where employees are like purposely making a choice to do the bare minimum, not go above and beyond. A lot of them like they will not reply messages out of work hours. Yeah, so that's basically it.
I feel like this has existed like forever, no? There are definitely people who just do things that are completely defined on their job scope and don't do anything that's beyond, don't take initiative. But nothing wrong, right? It's just normal. La. They just have
It's just
very...
not great. La.
Not great. Maybe progression-wise they might get overlooked, but they're happy to just be stagnant.
Coasting.
But is this not what is expected of most employees?
I think depends where. I think Singapore, because there's OT culture, because people like to always like stay back until damn late, work damn hard.
Because like, isn't the
Yeah.
agreement between employer and employee that I hire you to do this, you do this, then in exchange I give you money.
Yeah.
Then that's fair already, right?
Yeah, so then is it not also then fair, right? You continue doing this, I continue giving you the same pay, and you continue doing this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So there's no progression, no pay raise, lor.
So progression and increment are outside of this, ma.
So yeah, lor, so then when you are going above and beyond your job role,
No, I don't think it's about going above and beyond. It's about understanding that if you want growth, that's outside of the bare minimum. So they are only looking at part of what an employee is supposed to be doing.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's this other component of the job that if you want growth, you want increment, you want all that, then this is the other part you have to do, lor. And if you are fine not doing that, then is it okay to accept that companies will just not give you the increments and the
Yeah.
Correct. If you look at appraisals
Sorry,
and
we all
reviews
manage
and
people.
all this- Sorry,
We need a
that's why.
counterpoint, yeah.
that's not fair, guys.
Yeah, what about inflation?
Yeah,
Whoa.
like my cost of living is really going up. How can my pay not?
Yeah, and if what I'm doing is helping the company to make that money and that profit and grow, then should I not reap some of those benefits?
Yeah, by me doing my bare minimum, the company is still turning more and more profit per year, and therefore I should get an increment still. What do you think?
It's all relative. It depends. If every single employee is also doing the bare minimum, then okay lah. Everyone gets to
Actually,
increase.
I think there is a very strong manpower inflation already.
Manpower inflation.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The starting pay or even the salaries of people are getting crazy. Like, y'all think about when y'all first started pay as university grads, and then you look at the starting pay that we're offering.
Damn different now.
Yeah, and we are still not obviously not a high paying company where our starting pay is f***ing crazy.
It's like
We
7
are
years
not,
ago.
but it's so much difference from our first starting pay, and we also university grads. That is the manpower inflation. It has already been priced in. Because if we don't, I will have the inability to hire. So it's actually a little bit unfair to say, oh, inflation go up but my salary never change. To be honest, you never change company. That's
Sorry,
why.
question, because I'm not involved in like interviews and such, right? Have you all like, because of the starting salary that you are giving, and then people like what's the percentage of people turning down the job because of the starting salary?
Hard to tell also, because if someone turns down the job, they don't normally say why. It's usually, I just found a different opportunity.
Right.
So data not necessarily there.
Yeah.
When I do interviews, I straight away and the get-go ask
What's your asking?
what you're expecting. Yeah.
But is the expecting higher nowadays in
Way
fresh?
higher.
Right.
Which I don't mind. Which at the end of the day, right, there actually are multiple people in this company that have named their salary. Then I say, this is what then I expect of you. You can or not. And it's not about I need you to work until 10. It's about from 9 to 6, I need you to accomplish this month on month. They say yes, they get the job, then probation, most of them don't get the job.
Right.
Don't get to stay long.
Right.
Yeah.
I also find it interesting, like having interviewed quite a bunch of people, right? You get to a point where you see the capabilities of these individuals. Some of them, right, they are doing jobs in other industries or in other companies, right? And the pay is like insane one, right? But the actual capabilities of these individuals, right, is sometimes like lousier than an intern one.
Yeah.
So then
Ouch.
I'm just wondering, like, how are these people keeping their jobs? If there is a space for all this, right, then I can understand why this is something that's happening in the world, right?
Yeah.
Where I don't need to know jack shit. I don't need to do a lot of great things. I just comfortable, relax, right? But my pay damn good. Then I just lepak lor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can see where this is
I
coming
also
from.
can see. I feel like when it's a big company and everything you do is like pretty much process driven, right? I definitely will quiet quit, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I just focus on other aspects of my life. After
why.
6,
Yeah.
I'm me.
Yeah.
I do me. Oh, okay.
Because I think for us, we are like creative-based company. So like if you have weird ideas that you want to push, right? You can really change the trajectory of the channel or the company or the show. But I think for most companies, especially those that are super big one, it's like no point. You staying there doesn't really benefit the company anyway. Then just do tomorrow.
Do people get more and more replaceable as the company gets bigger? Like I would imagine if Google wanted to fire someone, right, it'd be so much more replaceable than like a smaller like startup or what.
Because individuals have more on their plate and more responsibilities tied to the companies.
But they also are more process driven when you are bigger. So everything is about the process as opposed to individuals.
Right.
But yet on the flip side, it is these bigger companies that have suddenly put a huge spotlight on like employee satisfaction and all those. Is that not interesting?
Hey, Denise, what are you looking for?
I wish there was someone who could have my back.
Haven't you heard of Ergotune?
Ergotune? Do you mean the very comfortable chairs we're sitting on right now with tailored ergonomics?
Exactly! Ergotune has 11 adjustable points that can enable the chair to fit your body like a glove. No more ill-fitting, one-size-fits-all chairs that forces you to conform to uncomfortable positions.
Wow, I can't believe the one you've been looking for has been here all this. Wow.
You are right. Ergotune's Atlas lumbar support adjusts to your movement, supports your spine curve, and reduces your backache.
Hey, and don't forget their breathable dual width mesh, tri-tune headrest, 5D armrest, aesthetics, free shipping, free returns, and 12 years warranty.
I think I found the one.
If Ergotune truly makes you happy, you should go for them. Click the link in the description box down below to get $30 off your first purchase with our promo code.
Like they don't need like the power with these big like FANG companies, right? The power is completely with the employer, I would say lah.
But it's also more expensive for them being so big to keep hiring. It's cheaper for them to retain. Because you imagine like every time we just talked about it, the best way for you to increase your salary is to actually jump ship. So the more times they have to hire people, they have to pay more than what they would actually pay someone at that same level if they just retain that person.
Right.
So it's cheaper to just retain, yeah.
Yeah, and I think in the previous episode, we've also talked about how more and more people are becoming their own bosses. And you see, I mean, due to technology and all that shit, right, we see so many people finding shortcuts or ways to just harness wealth or pursue their passion and make a shit ton of money out of it and gain success or fame or whatever, right? And then you compare yourself to them and then you think like, yeah, why I go and work so hard doing something that is boring every day, sit at a desk and type letters and whatever, right? When I could be doing some stupid shit that I enjoy, like I go and cook my food or whatever, and then I'm famous and successful and make money from that.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people see this and they think that they can, and I'm not saying that they cannot. I think more and more people have the ability to, but at the same time, it's also a lot of people are maybe losing sight of or forgetting that there are many different routes to get to a certain place, to get to a certain goal. It's going to look different for everybody. For some people, it's going to be a very hard route, but you will get there if you strive hard enough, right? But then we look at the other end of the spectrum, which is that businesses and the way they function and the way the world works and in the way industries work, right? It's a lot more transparent to everybody. And then because of that, like for example, like in certain industries, it's purely networking that gets you the job and it's not so much about whether the work is good or not. Then when you see and hear all these things already, right, they become such huge obstacles that are things that you feel like you will never be able to overcome. And then because of that, it pushes you to just kind of give up. Yeah. So is that an industry and organization point of view like a problem from that aspect, or is it employee perspective problem?
I think most people, especially high functioning people, will quiet quit in phases, then come back, then quiet quit again, then come back. Because there are times whereby your hustle don't matter. There are times where your hustle truly matters. Yeah. And the times that your hustle don't matter, then you be damn strategic about it. But I think going back to working the extra hard, that's how, if there is role for growth and increment, then you'll be considered, right? Not necessarily in hours. It can be working extra hard during the work time. Because quiet quitting is not just going home on time, right? It's also doing the bare minimum. Yeah, and if you do quiet quit, be it a phase or it's something you just decide to go like all in on, if you spend your downtime with your friends and family and you just want to have downtime, right? The truth is you're gonna be a complainer your whole life. Yeah. Like, go and be the aspiring chef lor. Go and fail. You gotta fail a few times first. Yeah. That to me, if you quiet quit and you work on that John quiet quit before. We didn't have a name for it back then. 6 months into joining us, you quiet quit for 2-3 months, I think. Now that I think about it, there were videos that were waiting for you bottlenecked, and then you just say tomorrow. Or like when I text you after 6, you just don't reply me until next day 9. Then I don't know whether is it we different culture or what. Then to me I was like trying to tell him, but your management figure, management figure must be always on. But I feel like okay, never mind, maybe our relationship not there yet. I'm gonna find a way to tell this to you. You know, like yeah. Then after he just came back, like a couple of months later.
I think it was me adjusting. So to me, the adjustment was that with my previous company, it's like OT like dog, right? There's no limit, there's no work-life balance and nothing like that. But coming here, the approach that this company has is very different. But that was something that I came into the next company knowing that I want to establish that clear boundary for myself as well.
Yeah.
So obviously in the earlier months, it's also I cannot just straight away like hardcore do that ma. So I was trying to figure it out. And then after a certain point, it was like, okay, it looks like let me try and implement this for myself.
Right.
And then it became a very hard like, after I'm done with work, that's it. That is my own life.
Yeah.
And then after that I come back and then I forced myself into that. I think also understanding my position within the company was something that I was also kind of figuring out. Then as that progressed, right, then I start to find that right balance. Yeah, so there are different types, right? And I do think that I'm the kind that is constantly reaching. Right? I don't think I'm the settler.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I mean
Never satisfied.
No, actually,
I
it's
like to
not.
break
It's
down,
what
kind
you
of.
are describing, right? Not burnout. Like I
No,
chiong
but-
for like 3 months, then I'm burned out, right? So I need to like quiet quit for like 2-3 months, for example, to kind of like reset, like pace myself, get my energy back, then I go again.
I think the intention differs. I think it really depends because there are some people who genuinely are just happy to coast, and I think that's perfectly fine if you have a good balance of coasters and high-performing individuals. Because sometimes you can't have all of them being ambitious. Also, you're going to like run out of cash to like promote everybody and like give them raises. So you do need coasters in general, right? Hands and legs. But I feel that there are some instances in which people just decide that okay, I think I need to take a step back, maybe like relax a little bit because I'm burnt out lah.
Right.
So I feel like quiet quitting, like this new phenomenon, what? It's just Gen Z's giving
It's
a name to like.
yeah.
You're
like-
right, actually. So like, I was kind of thinking about like, is this like what you mentioned just now? This is not a new thing. Like the older generation just says it as act blur, live longer. Then then for us it's quiet quitting lah.
Gen Z's just like to give labels to.
But it's so dramatic.
Yeah,
It's so dramatic.
And it
It's a
doesn't describe.
medicalization.
Millennials
Yeah.
call it work-life balance.
Yeah. And it's not immediately intuitive what it means from quiet quitting.
Then
it really sounds like
makes
you
go and
AWOL.
research, or it's a clickbait.
Because Gen Z is made for content.
But do you
really.
think that is actually right?
Clickbaits.
To be born into a world now, right? Your life is way more comfortable. At least, I mean, acknowledging our privilege, right? In these countries, in most developed countries, you are way more comfortable. And so, is it just people just got lazy? They just feel like they don't really need to like overachieve or like they can just live their lives now and it's comfortable enough because, as a whole Earth, our comfort has went up.
I think it's the whole idea of wokeism and also that whole shift, right? From you know the saying like, don't work hard, work smart. Then now this whole fucking generation think they're working smart,
But
right?
they also not.
Like don't need to work hard, work smart. Then what is working smart? Working smart is that I don't need to give all this. Right? I have everything is for myself. And like something that I brought up, a commenter actually mentioned this in a previous video that we were talking about, right? And they mentioned the idea of like. Hedonism. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Hedonism. Yeah.
Well done.
And I think that's quite interesting. That's something that maybe is true that the younger generation is too focused on, be it due to social media or whatever. But is that a problem that there's no other purpose other than that, or is that something that we have always kind of like been framing to strive for in life?
In what ways do you think, like, say for example, in your personal life, right, does hedonism not apply to you?
Where I'm willing to put in work or suffer to achieve something bigger than myself, lor.
Bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not about instant or delayed gratification lah. It's about whether it gratifies you only. Right.
Or are
You-
we
you
all
think-
just intrinsically very hedonistic?
You know, back to what we talked about, how the millennial and generation and after were the first poorer generation. Do you think it's a point where too late into the game already? You know? Like the newer generation feels like the shit has to be built already.
Yeah.
So it's like there is no way I can make a dent. Like if I join a big company, there's just no way I can make that dent anymore.
But now more than ever, there are way more startups and like businesses, people being their own boss.
But it's vague, right? Like we started our startup with like 13 people, or you can bake cookies and you are a startup also ma.
So like the millennials, right, were still obsessed about finding purpose. We were known as like, oh, our job needed to have purpose or whatnot. because we felt like we could still make a change. But then when Gen Zs came about, they realized the house is on fire. What's the point?
Yeah, so then they are only looking for like happiness or pleasure, and then that's it.
Yeah, exactly that, right?
Yeah.
Or what I wanted to say just now was late stage capitalism.
Yeah.
Explain.
You did remind you to say that.
We've gotten to the point where the development years for most countries where we see the exponential growth curve is over already. And so no one is really seeing that if I work hard now, I can jump on this growth curve. And then I look at the 0 to 100 stories. Like the 0 to 100 stories are rarer and rarer. Or it's no longer 0 to 100, it's 0 to 10 stories. They are very common. Yeah, but last time the 0 to 100 stories are insane. Like there are people you grow up with, like my parents' generation, there are people that they grow up with that is now like MNC founders, you know what I mean? Where in our generation the 100 is becoming 90, 70, 60 and and we're at a point whereby the growth and development of a certain country, or especially capitalistic in nature, the growth curve is just not as steep anymore, and there's no point working that hard or taking that much risk. I think now more than ever, this young generation believe, right, we are the last few generation of humans to ever survive, to ever will be already.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of why work so hard, you know? And then I chanced upon this book, and I was reminded from the Instagram post of Rachel, the CEO of Love Bonito, right? It's about this nursing worker that talks about the 5 or 10 lessons that she learned from working with dying people. What are their biggest regrets? It's obviously, I mean, it's great advice, but it's just also terrible advice.
Such as?
I wish I worked less. You know?
Okay.
But okay lah, I feel like all these things you need to work to that point, turn back and realize that, okay, you wish you work less. But if you're gonna die in poverty and all your children die of hunger with you, you know, your dying wish is I wish I work more. So it's like, but it's like I wish I work less. I wish I
could leave my children more.
No. I wish I learned how to say no earlier in life. It's like actually like, because 10 years ago there's another best-selling book called Say Yes, right? So like it's actually terrible bloody advice that you will only learn at your deathbed.
Is it really?
If you're
normal?
enjoying the episode so far, drop us a like, share, subscribe to support us in making our content. And back to the episode.
If not, we quite quick,
Don't quite care.
Yeah, if not, we were quite.
we rot,
So then I had this thought, having my morning supplement drink Fitline. Sorry, my wife said I just plug. Is if the world were to subscribe to a notion, who is right? The people at their deathbed having lived already their lives and then drawing on their entire life telling you what they wish they did differently, or the people that haven't lived life yet, don't know what's ahead of them, and then feel like they need to trade their life away in order to achieve something.
I think it's a case of the grass is greener on the other side, because obviously you live your life on the deathbed already, and then you realize you have just all these regrets, but then what you don't realize is that the life that you live have all these comforts that
It's a
you take for
survivor
granted.
bias, right?
And so the motto should be the grass is greener when you water it, and just make the best of what
Yeah,
you're
and there's no
doing.
who is right, man. Because
I mean, there is in a certain sense, I can put my foot down and be like, okay, I'm gonna spend time with my family. Like, but I got no kids, you know. My parents still working, my wife also working. Then okay, I started a company, I took the risk, kind of paid off now. I do have control of my time. What now? I spend time with my family.
But your family got no time to spend with you.
Yeah, I mean, I follow them all. Because it's a family business, man. I can follow them around, lah. Correct or not? Like, will my 5 years from now be happier or worse? Really, I also always ask old people what some advice you can give me. Even the People's Association book, right? Or people ask, right? It's always about I wish I work less. I wish I spend more time with family.
And that's happening now, 4-day work week and that kind of stuff.
I
Like
wonder.
the world is kind of shifting, right?
Oh my god, do you know there's a
Control your
school
own
in
working
Singapore
hours.
that has 4-day school days?
Raffles, right?
Yeah.
Institution.
Yeah,
Wednesday
RIJC.
is just a...
Wow, they have everything, sia.
And then their scores, in fact, reflected done better than the last year.
Wow, you imagine the stress on that generation, that vintage of kids. You have to do better for their juniors.
No, imagine how
Or
the
the
previous one
principal
feels.
that had to answer to his school that the students
Yeah.
all say, hey, they are 4-day work week, they do better.
I
right?"
suddenly all fail. What?
Shag.
Maybe what you don't know is that they kicked out like 20% of the students so that the average will go up.
Oh shit.
Maybe
Maybe it's a conspiracy of the government is trying to get RI to dumb down so that every school is a good school.
Or maybe the government's actually trying to
Then
No,
they
every
cut
school
out-
only needs
They
its
cut
own
out
niche.
one entire bloody day and they did better. Then And Chan Shu Seng is like, wow, I give up. We
should-
had 3 days.
Should have asked him this question when he was here. On the note of who was right, there's actually quite an interesting survey that I found, right, which was talking about how they found a correlation between management and people who are willing to go the extra mile for the company. So if we talk about quiet quitting, right, there's a theory that it could be down to the company's fault. So
of course it's the
when
company's
people
fault.
rated their managers
So
higher,
defensive.
Always,
when people rated their managers higher, right, more people were willing to go the extra mile.
right.
So in the case of quiet quitting, right, could it just be, right, they've just encountered really horrible management?
Or a mismatch of
and
managers.
an inability to quit, lah, right? It has to be mixed with that, I feel. Or you want to, I don't like this boss, I'm going to quit, join another company and quiet quit. Like, wow, how do you live life like that? But maybe they damn smart and we haven't figured it out.
Correct. It's a life hack.
Actually, life should be like this, actually. Wow, fuck, I'm sold, yeah.
Yeah. Quiet quitting should be the default, no?
It should be the default. You choose your class. Like a wizard or whatever, you choose your class.
Yeah.
Which in that sense, right?
Yeah.
You also choose the money you get for the rest of your life.
If you're assault like character, no one's expecting you to heal other people.
Correct.
Why are you
correct.
doing both things? Stick to your lane.
Yeah, like everyone tells you the pros and cons and then what you're signing up for already. Then you just go and do it for the rest of your life. Do we want that or not?
I think everyone will be happier.
So the quiet quitting in China, they actually have a slightly different term for it, which is the lying flat movement. So in Chinese, it's tang ping, right? Which is basically you don't do the bare minimum, what we just described. But now that movement has kind of evolved into something called the let it rot movement. So in Chinese, they call it bai lan. So like just like leave it there and then it just rots by itself.
Right.
And like the difference is that on one hand, you're doing the bare minimum, but you're still doing. On the other hand, they're completely rejecting the system, right? They've they believe, right, that nothing they ever do will ever like give them the riches that they want. Their end point, right, is someone else's starting point, in fact.
Yeah.
And so like it's completely unattainable, lor. And so they just like there's nothing that can be done here, and they just leave it.
No,
Yeah,
so
I
how,
think that's
no,
what
so how
John
they
does.
behave.
Yeah, so
no, how
that-
they behave.
But you
in-
articulated a lot better, thanks.
Right. So how they behave, right, as an employee is that if you give me, say you assign me a job, right, I'll try to find somebody else to
I will
do it. I'll
siam.
push as much.
Yeah.
It's basically Tai Chi warrior
Right.
to the max. And because there's nothing in it for me, I just don't want to do.
Yeah.
If I can, I don't do. Yeah.
Yeah, but even if I do, I will do it as minimally as I can.
And
Yeah.
if you don't get caught, then okay, that's a
Yeah,
skill
I
set.
think
sia.
that's completely fair, yeah.
That's a skill set.
Absolutely.
But as this is the youth, this is what's happening to the youth in
Right.
China, which is very, very difficult for like their development and where
Actually,
they are planning to go.
They are like going through what our grandparents go through in that generation.
What do you mean?
They're third world to the first in one generation, but when we were born, we were just closer to the first, really, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what they are going through that now, eh?
They actually did explode quite a bit. And okay, so basically there is this Made in China 2025 plan, right, where the Chinese government is trying to make China the world's manufacturer, which we are seeing,
Yeah,
right?
they
Then,
already
They already are, yeah.
no, but
used
not
to
just
be,
not just making the world's
Mexico.
cheapest. Not just making the world's cheapest goods, but also like high-tech goods, all this kind of stuff. They want
Yeah.
to be number one in that. Yeah. So
Okay,
then,
okay.
in order to do so, right, they pumped a shit ton of funds into education. So the number of like graduates, right, increased from 500,000 to 10 million graduates in a very, very short span of time.
Right.
And then there's just no jobs, lah. So it's very, very difficult to find a job. And then those who find a job are worked to death because the country's goal is chasing this thing.
I have a question. Like,
Okay.
if you all have to manage somebody who's like this, right? What will you all do?
Letting it rot. Not
Oh.
quiet quitting. They're letting it rot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
have
mean-
employees that are like
Quit
that.
fire lah.
Yeah lah, definitely.
But
But
just
that's
you're
what
very
you said.
smart, what?
No, I say
I
if
think
you can
it's-
continue getting away with it, then good
Correct.
on you, that's a skill set.
But that's not somebody you want.
No,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
not
As a
really
perspective manager, but I am actually very impressed that if you can get away with
Oh.
it.
Yeah, so you're impressed, but I'm gonna fire you.
Like, I definitely don't want to hire that person. But if I was in their position, it's not out of question. It's
I will fire that person and that person's manager.
yeah. As a manager, I definitely would fire a person. But if I was born in that age or whatever, right, I could have easily seen myself doing the same thing. Because like, if you really feel that like society is like this, and I can get away with it, I'm still gonna get paid.
Right.
It's like I'm stealing almost.
So yeah. So let's say I make it a bit difficult. You are not the manager. You are the co-worker. Same level. Your teammate. What will you do? It's like
This
that.
is like
Yeah.
poly project
What will
work
you
lah,
do?
right? One
Oh, I
person
mean,
will
like-
pull their weight.
Oh yeah, my poly project means all quiet quit.
I always I always finish everything.
Quiet quit or let it rot.
I can still
Let
think
it
of
rot.
projects where I
Sabotage.
I wouldn't sabo lah. I wouldn't sabo. I'll just carry on.
Right.
I think that built character.
The
Yeah.
carrying.
Yeah.
I think that was a strong character building exercise for me.
I was a let it rot. Then, but I will always go and pick the smart people, the one who confirm I want do, right. Then after a while, right, then the pattern found out, right. Then slowly, it's all the let it rods go together. Then when all the let it rods come together, right, then I had like, now I need to step up.
You have to be the
Then
law
I
of the
build my
rotters.
character.
Character building.
Then the rest of them.
Rotting.
No, it's because like I don't know, for some reason I don't know why sway or what, right? Every time I cannot, it's not that they are lazy, it's that they're just not
They
good.
just cannot. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the stuff that you get, right,
They do
is
give
like,
you their drafts and on time. You just
Yeah.
need to rewrite it anyway. Huh?
and then you gotta rewrite the whole thing. And then when you submit, they're like, hey, I don't see anything that I use. But then
Yeah.
we all got okay.
No,
marks,
mine
right?
never
Okay.
asked. Mine never asked
Just-
that everything was rewritten and they just, shall we go and celebrate since we submit already?
They never reread it, lor.
They didn't even see the collated version. There is proof check. There is
Yeah.
chapter that is paged.
What you think you'll do?
Rough, yeah.
Teammate. Like that.
I think I will make noise as in
Ah.
yeah.
Run around the office.
Yeah, then, I'll make noise until someone and then after that my boss will ask what's happening. Then I'm like, oh I think I will try to tank until I really cannot. As in, I think if it's not affecting the company,
It is affecting.
I will tank lah. No, because like I think it comes to a point where I'm way overloaded until I cannot take on this other person's job anymore, right? Then the like things start going out late or blah blah blah.
Right.
Then that is when the problem need to be raised, lor. Cause if not, then it's also kind of my fault when I knew the problem and I didn't raise it up, ma.
Right.
Yeah, but
My-
if it doesn't affect the company much, like the things that the person is xiaming is like still okay, like still can handle, then okay lor.
Yeah, I have friends who are these rotters lah. But as a friend, right, because I don't care about the company they're working for, right?
Yeah.
Then they get decent salary, they just do whatever like, I also don't see it as a problem. But then if I were to work with them, then it's a very big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange thing. Like I don't think it's necessarily completely wrong.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it sucks lah. Cause
Yeah.
I try to think whether there's anything to even advise them also. There's nothing lah. It's you happy.
Okay, thank you for watching today's episode. Do not quiet quit on like, share, and subscribing. Actually, that might be the minimum. Oh, wait, sorry, the minimum is watching. Yeah. Let's not quiet quit. Okay, like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye bye.
Yeah. If you're rotting and watching our show, then just keep rotting.
But they do say that like
Let it
this is my
rot.
lifestyle.
Let it
You
rot.
shouldn't
Let it-
comment on it.
And that's why I feel it's fair.
But if your lifestyle is affecting my lifestyle, then not fair, what?
Yeah,
No
in
lah,
Chinese they call it you to you.
Don't come anywhere near.